I'm very limited on time, Professor. And so I just have to say, when you talk about how liberals want to be around each other and cluster and conservatives don't want to be around each other and so they have to spread out, it makes people, you may not see this from, like the ivory towers of your law school, but it makes actual people in this country feel like, excuse me, you don't get to interrupt me on this time. Now, let me also suggest that when you invoke the president's son's name here, when you try to make a little joke out of referencing Barron Trump, that does not lend credibility to your argument. It makes you look mean. It makes you look like you're attacking someone's family, the minor child of the President of the United States. So let's see if we can get into the facts. To all of the witnesses, if you have personal knowledge of a single material fact in the Schiff report, please raise your hand. And let the record reflect. No personal knowledge of a single fact. And you know what? That continues on the tradition that we saw from Madam Schiff, where Ambassador Taylor could not identify an impeachable offense. Mr. Kent never met with the president. Fiona Hill never heard the president reference anything regarding military aid. Mr. Hale was unaware of any nefarious activity with aid. Colonel Vindman even rejected the new Democrat talking point that bribery was invoked here.
Right. Matt Gaetz was nominated for this position because we have a problem at the Department of Justice. For the last 8 years, they have run roughshod over rule of law in this country. They have prosecuted political opponents. They ran the Russia collusion hoax. And too many people in Washington, D.C. did not stand up against what was happening there. And many Americans are upset about it. Matt Gaetz is one of the most effective people at fighting that Russia collusion hoax and other information operations, whether it was the Brett Kavanaugh information operation, the Donald Trump Russia collusion hoax information operation, or the one that is referenced here, which is something that the FBI and Department of Justice, which hate Matt Gaetz, looked into and cleared him of any wrongdoing. The idea that this is about the issue is corruption. It's the Department of Justice's corruption. And people are sick and tired of people in Washington, D.C. doing nothing as these people tried to destroy the country and getting upset at someone who actually might root out the corruption there. We don't have a Department of Justice. We have a Department of Injustice. And that's why you get Matt Gaetz as a nominee.
Here's Matt Gaetz versus Christopher Wray. This is one of the finest clips you'll see today. This guy understands that Christopher Wray, who hopefully will be leaving his job the minute Trump is sworn in, Matt Gaetz gets it. The FBI management has worked as a singular force to destroy liberties and freedoms in the United States, and they better get a guy in there who's willing to see it for what it is. This guy sees it. Watch this.
I'm sitting here with my father. I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father. Sounds like a shakedown, doesn't it, Director?
I'm not going to get into commenting on that.
You seem deeply uncurious about it, don't you? Almost suspiciously uncurious. Are you protecting the Bidens?
Absolutely not. The FBI does not and has no interest in
you won't answer the question about whether or not that's a shakedown, and everybody knows why you won't answer it. Because to the millions of people who will see this, they know it is. And your inability to acknowledge that is deeply revealing about you.
Now, apparently some Republican senators are bitching and moaning and griping already. This guy, Andrew Desiderio, says, hey, my phone's blowing up with Republican aides aghast at the nomination of Gaetz. Were they aghast at the nomination of Derek Farland, sometimes known as Merrick Garland? I'm not so sure. They didn't sound aghast.
The reason that Matt Gaetz is such an exciting pick to so many people is because he will go in and reform the Department of Justice. It desperately needs it. Look, he and I sat on the Judiciary Committee together for almost 7 years before I became Speaker of the House, and we heard the evidence. We saw the evidence of lawfare. We saw how the Department of Justice had been used for political purposes, how they targeted Catholics in some examples and parents at school boards and pro-life Americans. This is not what our system of justice was built to do, and Matt Gaetz will go in there and shake it up. And I think most of the American people understand that's an important function.
What's demigender?
Sir, that's a term of the people that are eligible for that particular scholarship that is available to. It's a person who looks at their gender in a different way than I do, sir.
Well, sure, that's all of these people. You're a cisgender man. You don't even get to apply.
Well,
do you know what demigender really means?
I'm not really sure, sir.
Right. So do you know what agender means? All one word, not a space gender, but agender.
Sir, I don't.
Right, so here we are pushing a fellowship, calling for people that you don't even know what the words mean, and the number one group of people, the cisgender men, are excluded. Now, in the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion, should we be pushing programs that we can't define that exclude the largest group of service members?
Congressman Gaetz offered to take us on a tour.
So one of the committees where people have a lot of information is the Appropriations Committee, because they can view almost any vector of government funding. And so, you know, this is Mr. Rutherford's office. He's on the Ethics Committee and the Appropriations Committee. 152 stock trades. Stocks go through the roof. And, actually bought Raytheon stock the day that Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if every American could make money off of war.
Yeah, setting aside the whole shame and ethics questions. How many more on our hit list here?
There are a few more. I wish there were fewer on the hit list. I wish we could only stop at 1 or 2 offices, but as it turns out, energy is a sector that sees a lot of congressional stock trading.
Sure.
And we have members who are on the Energy Subcommittee of Appropriations, like Michael Guest, chairman of the Ethics Committee, and he's traded somewhere between tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in energy stocks. He's been buying online gaming stocks and just making a killing on them. So you would think that the people that were on the Ethics Committee would be your best allies in this fight, but indeed they're some of the most prolific traders. And not only trading, but in the case of Mr. Guest, trading in an area where he has access to energy information more so than almost any other American.
And no indication that he wants to maybe slow down, pump the brakes, recognize that there might be some appearance of impropriety here?
It seems as though the pace is only accelerating.
All right.
Well, I'm in the House, so I don't get a vote on it, but Matt Gaetz, Mike Johnson, and I all came in together. We were in the same freshman class. We've been very close throughout our 8 years in Congress. Everyone will tell you that Matt Gaetz is very intelligent. He's been right about all the wrongdoing that he has pointed out to the American people with respect to the Department of Justice, with respect to the intelligence agencies. I think Gaetz deserves an opportunity, and hopefully the Senate will give him a fair shot when they do the confirmation process.
Yeah, I mean, the implication is that Gaetz would get the most pushback as Attorney General.
Well, first of all, you got to remember, about 90% of the people up here are what? They're lawyers, okay? I got one football coach. We got a few business people up here, but most of them are lawyers. And they know better than everybody else what a good lawyer is, right? So when I first got here, we had AG that come across our desk. Okay, Merrick Garland. Is he any good? Oh, man, he's got a lot of experience. We had 20 Republicans that voted to confirm him, along with the 50-something Democrats, okay? We had 20. The worst AG in the history of this country went against the Constitution. He went after parents that were trying to say, hey, listen, we control our kids. You know, don't be teaching them stuff at schools. He went after them. He tried to arrest Donald Trump. He tried to put him in jail. And we had 20 people voted for him, and they don't like Matt Gaetz, who's smart as anybody up here. He's been on the Judiciary Committee for 7 years. He is perfect for this job. He's a millennial that will work as hard as President Trump, and that's hard to do because President Trump works about 20 hours a day. And Matt Gaetz should be confirmed. Now, we'll have some of these know-it-alls up here on the Republican side that say, he's had problems in the past. Prove it. If you can prove it, fine, I won't vote for him. But I'm tired of hearing these people complain about, he's got ethics rules over in the House. 4 years they've looked into it, Will, and they ain't proved a dang thing. And so let's go on with this and give President Trump the players that he needs to run this team.
Well, let's remember first, Jake, that the Biden Attorney General, Merrick Garland, used the office to prosecute his political opponents and to go after parents who were peacefully protesting at school board meetings. Donald Trump ran on a promise to shake up Washington, D.C. He's doing exactly that, and Matt Gaetz is one of the examples.
Right, but there are questions about that your colleagues on the House Ethics Committee, Republicans and Democrats, were looking into, and Republicans in the Senate say, we'd like to see that before we confirm him. Is that an unreasonable request, do you think?
Actually, when you look at what Matt Gaetz has done over I think he spent the last 6 years on the Judiciary Committee, which has direct oversight
over the Department of Justice and the Attorney General's office, I think he's the perfect pick for this job because, again, you can't fix what's broken by taking people from inside what they broke. You're going to have to bring people from outside. You're going to have to bring change agents. At the end of the day, Jake, they're all going to be executing on the Trump agenda, not their agenda.
And the media isn't on our side either. The Matt Gaetz chaos agenda. That was the headline from the liberal New Yorker magazine. I must not know what chaos is. Open borders, $34 trillion in debt, $2.5 trillion annual national deficits. Your government might label you a domestic violent extremist if you buy guns or Bibles or, heaven forbid, show up at a school board meeting or attend Mass too often. This sounds a hell of a lot more like chaos to me, because your chaos doesn't matter to a lot of the folks working 10 miles from here. Interest rates on credit cards and car loans are skyrocketing. Home ownership, the central thesis of the American dream to our parents and grandparents, is now a mirage to the millennials. They say inflation is down, but prices are still up. I never thought I'd live to the day where I'd spend $11 on a bag of carrots. Chaos for lawmakers is having to write budgets and take tough votes. The chaos they are willing to inflict on your life is changing things for the worse. I actually want orderly things like budgets that balance, single-subject spending bills, term limits, block grant Medicaid, drill for oil, export liquefied natural gas to anyone willing to buy it in dollars, demand that, I don't know, if the government wants to spy on Americans, they should have to get a warrant, and we should secure the southern border. Does that sound like chaos? Or the orderly administration of this country that you deserve? Now, Democrats, they believed in these things some point between 20 years and like 20 minutes ago. Now, they are the party of forever wars abroad, high prices, low tea, and reverse racism here at home. And by the way, speaking of racism, if it is not racist to ask for an ID for a hunting license or a fishing license, then it is not racist to ask for an ID to vote in any election in any jurisdiction in a free country, the United States of America.